in my garden today. It's really beautiful. Today I'm going to be planting up a little strip along the side of a wall. I'm going to use the plant's Erigeron, which is this. It's a lovely little daisy, and the flowers go white and they turn pink as well. So this is a very small sample. I've got a tray of them here. It's a very small sample and they get much bigger. I'm going to be companion planting that with this lovely Verbena rigida. This is a trailing plant. It's an annual, so it shouldn't survive over winter. But the Erigeron, they'll last all winter and they'll just keep flowering. They flower pretty much all year long, which is why I'm going to put it in this site because it's quite dry. I will try and water it as much as I can this year, but I'm very busy. But yeah, the Erigeron, they'll flower everywhere. They'll, cracks of pavements and walls and things. So I know it's going to do pretty well there. So it'll just be a long wall of Erigeron at the end of the day. But this year I'll have the added colour of this gorgeous magenta Verbena rigida, which will complement the white and the pale pink that's going to come through on the Erigeron. So I'm going to start with placing the plants out first. You should always place the plants out first, just to get your spacings right, and then I'll head into planting them in. I've already watered my plants, and I've actually watered the area that I'm planting because it was incredibly dry. It was just quite dusty. So yeah, let's get on. I'm going to start with placing my Erigeron in first, and then followed by Verbena, and then just another Erigeron, another Verbena. So the Erigeron, they spread really wide. So by the time the Verbena are done, by the time the Verbena are done this year, they won't overwinter. There'll be enough space for them to thicken up next year. Just move these out of the way. So I've got 2 trays, very generous. And if I've got any left over, then I can pop them in a client's garden. I have a little fuchsia that I planted some years ago, struggling away, but it's doing its thing. I couldn't bring myself to take it out, so I've left it in there. It's just here. Further down the strip, it's a really long strip, and it's really nice for the eye to travel down and up the garden. Another one there. I'm going to have some leftovers. I like leftovers. My back's really hurting me. I'm working really hard. Got room just for 2 more. I'm wearing a back brace. So here you can see I've placed all the plants out. Got my spacings how I want them. There's a little fuchsia hanging in there. We'll leave that. And all the way along the wall I've got Erigeron, Verbena. It just carries on, repeats. It's a really lovely wall. So when that's all flowering, I'm just tipping over the edge of that wall, which goes up my stairs to my raised part of my garden. It's going to look really very pretty. So here's the planting. either the middle or the end. I started in the middle up there. I'm going to just start at this end for you here. So I've got to separate my soil. Get your pot in your hand. In the curve of your thumb and your finger, you can hold your plant whilst holding the soil in as well. Sometimes the soil's a bit loose, but if it's rooted properly, the soil shouldn't come out. Give the pot a squeeze like that. Pops out. Nice little root system there. Can pop that on. Bring my soil up around it. I've got a little bit of more compost here. I'm going to pop in. Just give it some extra nutrients there. And then start with the next one. Actually, you know what? I planted that a little bit further than I wanted to. Push that up. And then we'll move on to the next one. Moving the soil over. Around the fingers, can you see where that plant's quite wide? I can still get my fingers under there without breaking anything. Squeeze the pot, out it comes. Lovely root system. Put that in there. I want to place the longer lengths of this plant towards the edge of the wall because it's a trailing plant. I want it to hang over. So if I place the long ones at the back of the wall, it will creep up there first before it starts to hang over. So yeah, it's a good idea just to have your plant facing in the direction you want it to grow. And the next one, back to the Erigeron. I did it. Hold the plant, squeeze the pot, out it comes. Give it a little push in, nuzzle it in there in the soil so the roots feel secure. And again there like that, nuzzling in. Make sure you press firmly. Moving on to the next. This is quite a shallow wall here. It's only two courses of bricks deep. So it's not for any plants that are sort of got major roots. So each year I tend to put bedding in, but I'm so busy that I've decided to go for the Erigeron because it flowers for so long. And it just survives in the harshest of conditions. The dry, the wet, you know, you can kind of neglect it almost. So on the last two of these plants here, if you want to know anything more about the Erigeron, you can Google it, but it does love to spread itself as well. So it will end up with little bits of, new little plants in cracks and places, and I rather like it when you've got little plants in crevices and stairs and things like that. It just gives it more character. Looks more natural. So yeah, so that's my only word of warning about the Erigeron, is that you'll end up with more Erigeron in the garden. Actually, it's a really lovely plant. You can prune it back in the spring, early spring. You can prune it back quite hard, and it'll just start over again. Sometimes you get mild winter, it flowers through winter. So yeah, so I look forward to showing you as it turns sort of that white into pink. So yeah, really, really beautiful. Hey, Mum. So now I'm topping this up with some more compost. In actual fact, being a bit naughty, I'm using some farmyard manure because the Erigeron won't mind it. And I'm not putting it around. The reason I'm not putting it in underneath the roots is because of the verbena. I'm literally placing it on top to let it leach in through the soil because the verbena won't like it. It'll be too strong. So it's a little cheat for me. what I'm doing. Get in trouble by lots of other gardeners. I'm going to do that. And that goes round the top. So it'll all leach in and feed them. Because as I said, this side, this is generally pretty neglected, this site, even though it shouldn't be, because it's where I walk up the stairs all the time. And I follow that by watering it in. Add a good water. As I said, all that will leach into the soil, feeding the plants, get them going. I'll have to be on top of my watering, Venus, but I really am looking forward to seeing those grow on, to see those colours. A lot of it is about colour for me as well. I do love colour. So planting for me is, oh, got a lovely rose there. So planting for me is not just about the plants, it's also about the colour. How you're feeling. Colour tells you about how you're feeling, and that does a lot for me. I like my pastel colours, but I like my really bright, vibrant colours too. So I've mixed that up here. So I've got my pastels with my vibrant magenta, and that's really going to kick it for me. So yeah, until next time, thanks for watching Life as a Gardener. Bye.